Hello. So today I want to talk about the film She Said. So I went to see this back when it first was released in theaters in October, I think. Or maybe I went in November, but either way, it was, a little while ago. And the film is based on the book by the same name, written by Jodie Cantor and Megan Toohey. Or Toohey. So they are the two journalists from the New York Times who investigated the allegations against Harvey Weinstein, the Hollywood producer. And so, yes, it is, she said, breaking the sexual harassment story that helped ignite a movement. Hello, my name is Tamika, and whether you stumbled upon Junkie for a Story or are here by intention, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please give it a like and subscribe by the end of the video, and hit the bell for notifications so you won't miss new videos when they are released. And now, on to the video. And they also won the Pulitzer Prize. Didn't realize that. But yeah, so the movie is the adaptation of this book. And I must say, they stayed really close to the content that is in the book. I will say the film matched the book and complemented it really well. But she said the film, I don't know, I feel like it got positive reviews, but it has a disinterested movie audience, I will say, and so it only grossed about 11 million worldwide. And now everyone is speculating on why She Said flopped and why people are not interested in it. So, of course, I have my own theories. But first, let's rewind to some more popular investigative films to compare their box office success or failure to She Said. So that is what we're going to do. And then I'm going to come back with my thoughts on She Said. First, you have The China Syndrome that came out in 1979. This stars Jane Fonda, Jack Lemmon, and Michael Douglas. And now this one I actually have not seen. I won't lie. So I had to go off of Google for this to see what it's about. And Google's synopsis is: a news reporter and her cameraman are unintentional witnesses to a scram incident, an emergency core shutdown procedure at a nuclear power plant in California. Now, this is not really my vibe, but I know it is a classic that critics reference when discussing sort of political or investigative journalism films. And this film did go on to win Jack Lemmon and Jane Fonda BAFTA awards. The film won other awards as well, like the Cannes, People's Choice, Writers Guild. So it was popular at the time. It's considered a classic. And it did gross, let me see here, almost $52 million at the box office. And then you have, first, let me go back. and just read one of the critic reviews. So Bob Thomas from from Associated Press, what he had to say about the China Syndrome was, the characters are never more than skin deep, but the events are more important, and director James Bridges builds the tension to an almost unbearable pitch. So again, the China Syndrome did get good reviews and also did well at the box office. And then there is Spotlight from 2015. It stars Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams, Michael Keaton, among others. It's a large ensemble cast. And this is about the editor of the Boston Globe, who heads a team of journalists who dares to investigate the Catholic Church and their involvement in concealing child molestation committed by a priest. Now, this is one I did watch, okay, and I would consider this a classic. It's a very superb film. And Peter Travers from Rolling Stones obviously agrees. So he said, there's no higher compliment to pay this steadily riveting, quietly devastating take on investigative journalism than to say Spotlight gets it right. And this one, as far as awards go, this film was well received. So it won for Best Picture at the Academy Awards in 2016. It won for, the Critics' Choice Movie Award, the Writers Guild, New York Film Critics, BAFTA for Best Original Screenplay. I mean, obviously it was well received by critics. It went on to gross, let me see here. It did really well at the box office, almost $99 million. So, yes, both critics and audiences really liked this film. So that was Spotlight. And then there's The Post, which was released in 2017. This stars Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, and Sarah Paulson. And this film is about the first female publisher of a major newspaper. She, with the help of her editor, exposes a massive cover-up involving 4 presidents that spans 3 decades. And this is based on true events. But I found it interesting, so I'm going to mention that the publisher, she became the publisher of, the Washington, what newspaper was it? Okay, I'm just going to say the Post. I'm not sure, but she became the publisher when her husband committed suicide. So he was, prior to her, he was the publisher. And then after his suicide, she stepped in his place. And, that was quite a feat for her to get everyone on board with her being the publisher now, and especially her being the first female publisher. That was quite a task she had. But she stepped up to the plate, and she was the right woman for the role. And this film went on to do very well. So at the box office, wow, okay, so it's it made almost 180 million worldwide. And let's see, as far as awards go, so, well, I mean, they got some nominations from the Oscars, I'm showing. Let's see. Not too much. Not too many wins, but they did get a lot of nominations. So there's the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, Producers Guild of America. So a lot of award nominations. And let's see. As far as what the critics had to say, this is from Owen, I don't know if it's Gleiberman from Variety. He said Steven Spielberg's The Post throttles along in a pleasurably bustling, down to the timely minute way. All right, I'm surprised I didn't stumble on that one. And then Stephanie Zacharek from Times Magazine, she said in The Post, everything Graham does is in a response to a man, or more specifically, to something a man is trying to make her do. And I found that statement compelling because in these investigative journalism movies, you do see quite a bit of testosterone moving the plot along. So the fact that Zacharek pointed that out about Graham, who is the publisher, you know, she really fought her way through every move she made. It sounded like just, and how it came across on the screen. So she had her own battle as a female publisher, and then there was the battle of getting this story out to the public, because obviously powerful people would try to suppress this story if they can, you know. All right, so next we have Bombshell. Now, I did watch this movie on Hulu. I did not see it in the theaters. And this stars Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie, and Nicole Kidman as three female anchors who risk their careers to expose the sexual harassment, discrimination, and other practices used by Fox News head Roger Ailes. And I wanted to mention that I chose to watch this on Hulu rather than go to the theater, because I remember when I saw the trailer for this film, it just didn't seem like it was worth my money. It kind of looked like it was too commercial in a way that felt like it wasn't going to get to the meat of the story. It was just gonna, you know, dress it up and make it look cute. You know, it was all, I don't know, the presentation, I'll say, you know, the poster, the look of the women. And I know that's how they look, but still something just told me it wasn't worth my time. But I eventually gave it a watch. And I will say their performances are great. The three ladies as the anchors of the morning show, I think it was, or some kind of, you know, news show on Fox News. And Christy, I don't know if it's Lemire or Lemire, or I'm sorry, but so this critic from RogerEbert.com, she had to say, Roach, he's the director, working from a script by Charles Randolph, finds a tricky balance of portraying these events with a sprightly tone while crafting a steadily building tension. Now, I do remember the reviews were quite mixed about Bombshell. And I'm not sure if it was considered a flop. I want to say it was, but let me see. It grossed 61 million worldwide. I'm thinking it was a flop. But I could be wrong, okay? I mean, I'm just going to guess, just considering the three women's salaries alone, it sounds like it was a flop, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. So, okay, the budget, there it is. The budget was 32 million and it grossed 61. So, I mean, it's not a loss, you know. But I'm sure they were expecting it to get a little bit more than that. But as far as award nominations, let's see here. So they got awards for Best Makeup and Hair, and then Producers Guild of America Award. Yeah, so what I'm seeing is they received awards for makeup and hair. Oh, and Margot Robbie got an AACTA International Award for Best Supporting Actress. So, I mean, they're a little light on awards, which is no surprise, right? I mean, critics weren't really talking about that one, and I'm not quite sure if that one will go down as a classic. I mean, it's only been a few years, but still. But it does go back to my point about investigative journalism. When it tends to be about women, I don't know if people are loving those stories. Or maybe it's just the Me Too narrative in general. You know, it could be people are sick of it. Or, I don't know. I mean, that was 2019. People were still interested in those stories at that time. So, I don't know. We'll come back to that. But then there is, of course, the one that all investigative journalism films are compared to, and that is All the President's Men from 1976. And this stars Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. And this is about two Washington Post reporters uncover the details of the Watergate scandal that forced President Nixon to resign. So we all know this one. And yes, it is a classic by, I will say, everyone's standard. 5 decades later, it still holds up. However, let me read. This is Roger Ebert's review back in 1976. This is a quote from one of his reviews. So he said, All the President's Men is truer to the craft of journalism than to the art of storytelling, and that's its problem. While Ebert does acknowledge that William Goldman's screenplay is heavy with dialogue, he also gives credit to the director Alan J. Pakula for the pace that he he keeps to sustain audience interest. So Ebert, when I read his review, it kind of it kind of felt like he didn't know where he landed sometimes, whether he liked it or he didn't like it. But I did notice he did mention that the screenplay had a lot of dialogue, which it sounds like was not the usual. But again, he did mention that the pace was pretty good. And considering all of that dialogue, I would say the director did do a good job with the pace. I do remember it's also a long film. Like, I believe it's over 2 hours or around 2 hours long. And so considering that length, yeah, I would say for the director to keep people's interest. Okay, so it was 2 hours. It is 2 hours and 18 minutes long. But yes, for the director to keep the audience interest for that long, I am impressed because it's not an action film. It's not a shoot 'em up film or, something like that. So that usually that running time would turn people off. But yes, I would have to agree that the pace is pretty good in this film. I did watch this film, and it's not one of my favorites, but it is a good film. And it is based on true events about the real life reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. So, yes, and this film, let me see. It grossed $70 million at the box office. And it went on to win, well, let's see. I believe somebody got an Oscar, but let me just check here. Okay, it looks like, so they received a lot of nominations, Academy Award nominations, BAFTA, Golden Globe. Okay. So, okay. I was looking to see who won. I know I thought I heard or read something that somebody actually won. So Jason Robards won Best Actor in a Supporting Role. And then William Goldman won for Best Screenplay. Okay. So, I mean, yes, we all know All the President's Men. Everyone talks about that one, and that's kind of like, that's the one that people compare any other movie that comes out after, And so those are the movies that I wanted to compare She Said to. Now, I'm not sure if She Said will get nominated for an Oscar. Although it was well received, and the critics did like this film. However, I don't see it getting any, well, I shouldn't say any, but as far as Oscars or the Golden Globes, because it bombed, I'm not sure if it will get any nominations. So I don't know. It might get forgotten. So, as I already stated, She Said it is considered a flop. Only 11 million gross, but it was really liked by critics, which surprises me. However, I I don't know if it's me, but I feel like when movies are about, I'll say investigative journalism films, when they are about women, or when the plot is mostly about women, or it's, about the Me Too movement, it seems like people are not interested. So, I was reading some articles, and some critics or influencers, they're speculating that maybe the public is sort of tired of the Me Too movement and all that entails, and all it encompasses. So there might be that. However, she said this book, I know, was released in, I think, 2018. Let me just double check. Okay, the copyright says 2019. So 2019, and then the film came out in 2022. I don't feel like people are tired of the Me Too movement yet, but it's possible. But I mostly think that when you are attacking powerful men, maybe some other powerful men, like deep down inside, they may not want to say it in, mixed circles, but I think they don't want to help perpetuate the discussions about Me Too and Time's Up and stuff like that. They may not say it out loud, but that's what my theory is, that they, they'll give the green light because, if they don't, then it's obvious that they don't support that, right? And then everybody's looking at them like, what you doing? But then it's like, okay, we're going to get this, like, a couple dollars in marketing. We're going to give it like mediocre people to help push it to the audience, and get excitement around the movie. It's like they let you make the movie, but then they make sure that it doesn't go so far. Because when I look at other movies, I mean, the movies that I mentioned, All the President's Men, The Post, those are about men. Although Bombshell did like 61 million, I think, but it does seem like when the narrative is female dominated, they just don't give it that extra push. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but that's what I see, because there's not that many films that I can even compare she said to. I mean, that's focused on women criticizing male bad behavior. There's not that many films that come to mind, especially when they are taking down a powerful man. I mean, obviously we know there are the scandals that have come out about powerful men, but when it comes to translating that into a film and it being successful, I'm not seeing that. There's also another new release, Women Talking, which is about women who were sexually assaulted under the influence by their assaulters, and they were told that it was like some supernatural spirit or something, and then they learned after the fact that they were sexually assaulted by men in their community, and they are basically discussing what action they should take. Should they leave the community, or should they stay and try to cope with this or whatever? And that's what the film is about. But that's also another film that's not really getting a lot of attention. So again, and it's in the title, Women. I don't know. It just seems like when you put women in it, it's sure to bomb at the theaters. But I could be wrong. It could just be that this might be, we might be on the dissension of Me Too fiction. People might be, it's possible they are growing tiresome of the Me Too movement, but also it could be that at a certain point when you keep going after people, eventually people start to sympathize with those people that you're going after, even though they did wrong. But eventually, I think a shift happens and you start to sympathize with the wrongdoer, because you feel like, wow, that's a lot. You know what I mean? So I think that's possibly a reason as well. Like with Bill Cosby, when the women were coming out to speak on their experiences with him, it did take a while for people to believe, but then also you still had the people who were just like, they were in support of Bill Cosby and they didn't want to hear nothing about it. You're always going to have that, but I think at a certain point, when too many people are attacking one person, eventually the public starts to sympathize with that person. So I don't know if that's what it is, because a lot of books and documentaries and films and articles, everything has come out about Harvey Weinstein. And so we may just be at a point where people are just like, another Harvey Weinstein story, So it could be that, or it could be people are just starting to feel bad for Harvey Weinstein, like it's just too much, or maybe it's just they're over it now. They saw what they wanted to see on that subject, and now they moved on, And this might be one of those where it's appreciated in later years, It's one of those. It could become one of those films that, when it was released, it wasn't really. It didn't get much attention. And then, years later, when people stopped talking so much about Harvey Weinstein, it might have a rebirth, maybe with a younger generation or something like that. But I don't know, Oscar nominations are coming up soon. And I was thinking, I don't see this film being nominated, but I could be wrong, Although I will say, I forgot her name, Carrie. What is her name? Carrie. I can't think of her name. Let me look it up. Mulligan, that's her name. Carrie Mulligan and Zoe Kazan. I think they did a really good job of showing female allyship in the journalism world. They really supported one another, the two journalists, while they were investigating these sexual assault allegations, and they worked well together. They worked well with the team. I thought the entire cast, especially Ashley Judd. Although she was just playing herself, but she might get a nomination because even though she was playing herself, her performance was just astounding and unforgettable. Like you left that theater remembering her lines, what she had to say. She stole many scenes, She stole it. It almost felt like it was her movie and you forgot who else was in it. So Ashley Judd, I would be surprised, but I would say she deserves a nomination, an Oscar nomination. But yeah, all of the, I'm trying to see who was in it. The cast as a whole, I think they did a great job together, but I don't see the Oscars acknowledging them. But we'll see. We shall see when they come out with the nominations. So anyway, I am going to wrap this up. That's my speculation on She Said and why y'all are not watching it. So thank you so much for watching and listening. And let me know, are you going to go see She Said? Have you already seen it? What are your thoughts? Do you think they'll be nominated? And why do you think people aren't going to see She Said? So I would love to hear all of that in the comments. So again, please like, comment, and subscribe if you choose. And I will catch you in the next one. Oh, and I will also leave a link in the description if you are interested in more information about the book She Said. There will be a link in the description. All right, I will get out of here and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.